Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishna is Kesubos, Parak Vav, Chapter 6, Mishna Vav, Mishnah 6. Okay. Now, quick introduction. If the father of an unmarried girl died and left possessions to his heirs, they must give a portion, which is typically 1/10 of the estate for her dowry when she gets married. That seems to have been the practice. The accepted practice was she's an orphan. Her father is not around anymore, and now from the estate, his heirs have to give or would give 1/10 of the estate towards her dowry when she gets married. Okay. Now in the Mishna's case, it's going to be a little bit different. Let's read. A orphan girl that was married off by her mother or by her brothers, literally translated means with her consent. Now, we know that according to Torah law, a father has the ability to marry off his daughter, who is a katana or a naira. From 12 and a half and down, he is the one who is authorized to marry her off. He accepts the kedushin, and that's how she gets married. After the Chachamim instituted that if the father dies, that her brothers or her mother have the ability to marry her off instead. So that's what happened. There's no father. The mother or the brothers married her off, but they married her off midaita, with her consent. In this context, her consent means she consented to the dowry provided, meaning they made up a dowry, it was less than 1/10, and she agreed. That means she agreed though when she was a minor. 1 second, please. Yep. Talking about, I guess over here, yeah. We are talking about here in this part of the Mishnah, we're talking about a katana, a minor. She's under bas mitzvah. So now, this is what happened. They married her off, and they made up a deal for the dowry, and the katana consented, meaning they made up how much the estate is going to give towards her dowry. She agreed, but was less than 1/10 of the estate, which is really what she has the right to. I'm sorry. And they wrote for the dowry that they'll give 150 zuz. If you remember yesterday, 50 zuz was the minimum amount that one gives for a dowry. And that's what they wrote. And she agreed. She is capable, she's able, when she becomes an adult, to take from them that which is fit to be given to her. Since she was a katana when she consented to the smaller amount, her agreement has no legal standing, as they explain here, and therefore at that point of time, she can go and demand 1/10 of which can go, and she can take 1/10 of the estate. So the point of the Mishnah is that when she makes an agreement when she's a minor to how much the dowry is going to be, that's not binding because she's a minor. And therefore, when she becomes an adult, she can now go back to the heirs and demand from the estate the 1/10, which was the amount that was given. So that's a Tanakama. The Tanakama, the first opinion is that at the end of the day, she has a right to 1/10 of the estate. Finished. Rabbi Yehuda says, well, that's qualified. Imhisi es habas harishona. If, let's say, the father, before he died, married off an older daughter, and he gave X amount towards the dowry, saying lashniya kaderach shanasa l'rishona. Now the second one gets as was given to the first. Meaning, if we know already the father how much he gave by the first daughter before he died, he gave X amount for the dowry. So now that he's gone, and now the next daughter is getting married, and she gets from the estate, how much does she get? The answer is, says Rabbi Yehuda, she gets as much as her sister got. What the father gave before is our precedent for what he would do, and therefore, based on that, we say this is what he'd done now also, and that's what she gets. We assume that if the father was still alive, he would give the younger daughter the same amount he gave the older daughter. The younger daughter is thus entitled to that amount. Okay, now, they continue here in the notes. If the father had not married off an older daughter, we don't have a precedent from him, the court estimates how much he would have given had he been alive, based on their knowledge of his generosity. Again, according to Yehuda, what you're doing here is, again, you are going to, if you don't have a precedent, we're the Bezdin, the rabbinical court is gonna figure out, based on what we know about him, about his generosity. Based on that, we will figure out how much the estate gives for her dowry. And then, if this information is not available, we have no way of knowing what he would have given. Rabbi Yehuda agrees that she receives 1/10 of the estate. So Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion she doesn't automatically get 1/10. She really gets what we say the father would have given. One way to know what he would have given is based on what he did for the first daughter. Another way is, if we can't use that, we have a way, we figure out based on who he was, his personality, what we know about him, what he would have given. And if we don't even have that kind of information, then she gets 1/10. The Chachamim, back to the Mishna, the Chachamim say, and the Chachamim are in agreement with the first opinion, Pa'amim shadam ani v'hesher, asher v'heni. Literally translated means sometimes a person is poor and becomes rich, sometimes he's rich and he becomes poor. The main point is that a person's generosity fluctuates. Sometimes he's more generous, sometimes he's less generous. That's what it means. Sometimes he's poor and he gets rich. One time he could have been a little stingy, then he became generous. Or one time he could have been generous, then he became stingy. Again, people change. And therefore, there's no way you can really assume, even based on what he did before, what he would have done now. But rather what we do is, we appraise his possessions, and we give her the 10th that is rightfully hers. So according to the Chachamim, again, the point is that the Chachamim were just arguing people's attitudes change. Therefore, there's no way to know what he would have done right now, and therefore, we give her a 10th. All right. Now, if something was done to Reuven inappropriately, but he doesn't know what happened. He doesn't know he did it. Somebody did something to him. He doesn't know who did it. Now Reuven, this victim, comes and asks to Shimon, who did this to me? Who did this? Now the thing is that when Reuven comes over to Shimon, Shimon senses that Reuven is suspecting him of doing it. So now the question is, does he reveal who did it so as to vindicate himself, or do we say it's a lasser? Says the Chofetz Chaim, Asr legalas leis Hashem ha'isa. It is forbidden for him to reveal the name of the person who did it, even though he saw it himself. What you say to the person is, I was not the one who did it. Now again, this is excluding a situation if we're talking about something that anybody actually could have told him. We're talking about something he can't tell him. But the point is that he knows that if he doesn't say the name, he's going to be suspected of doing it. Says the Chofetz Chaim, you cannot tell the name of the person that you did, but rather you can say to him, I didn't do it. Meaning you're sensing from him that he thinks maybe you did it. You could say, I didn't do it, but you can't say more than that. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi. Now you have the situation where